Hey, Fuckarina.
Well, since there are no rules, I guess technically you're allowed to do that.
I just want to put my shoe on the table.
Welcome to the Shoe on the Table
No.
Allowed. No fucks, no rules.
No fucks.
Jenna and Julien Podcast.
Julianne.
I forgive you for misspelling my name. It still
Someone
goes
sent
up.
us this sign that says the Jenna and Julien Podcast.
I'm fine with it. They made the effort, and it gets some, exposure right now. We don't have a Jenna Julien Podcast sign. We'll deal with that. We'll deal with that.
Weird.
This is to amplify your voice. So let's do that.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
We missed you guys.
What is that? Is that a truck?
Oh, yeah, it's a truck.
Fuck off, truck.
Because our homemade studio is just that.
We're
It
trying
is
to
a homemade
We're
studio.
trying to popcast in here.
We're Popcat. It's right next to the street, so you can
It's
hear
like a
it.
bag of popcorn, except
Well,
it's a cast.
Yes, that's precisely what we are doing here. We're
Popcast.
cooking popcorn in a homemade studio.
Welcome.
Wait, is he moving any? Is he just staying there? He's like revving his engine.
Welcome to the popcorn cast.
This is the popcorn.
Oh my god.
This is like a joke, right? Okay, he's gone. Seriously though,
Anyways.
thank you guys for hanging out tonight.
Hey, friends.
We are excited to be back here. I really missed you guys. I don't know what it was. It feels like this last week was a little long, but
Yeah, we did have a long last
yeah.
week.
I'm excited to be sitting back down here and talking to my friends. This is nice. I like that we have this.
With the podcast.
And this isn't a sponsor or anything, but these guys sent us awesome personalized mugs. I got a Paish one, and Jenna got a Cermet and a
the
Marbles
Cermet
one.
and the marbles.
It's this Boss Dog, so thanks, guys. It's really sweet of you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. We did a P.O. Box day today, so we got a lot of cool stuff, including that
The
sign.
mugs are beautiful, but if you want to sponsor our podcast,
That's true. And we really don't have a sponsor for this podcast, so
Nope.
if the right offer comes along, I guess a podcast isn't
AKA if any offer comes along, if you would like to sponsor our podcast.
Yeah, and you know what? A podcast is the type of thing that it's appropriate to have a sponsor every week. So, if you're interested, let us know.
The content does lend itself. If you
Exactly.
were to our podcast is sponsored by blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And
It's
we're-
not offensive as the viewer or listener of that podcast
No,
to be
it's
like,
not.
fuck you guys,
Exactly.
you're fucking sellouts.
It's the proper platform. And also, it's got to align with us. We're not going to be like, hey, welcome to this week's podcast sponsored by Vagisil.
Sponsor Stay Free Maxi Pads. You remember that Saturday Night Live?
Yeah. Yes, do they keep announcing it
Yeah.
every 2 minutes?
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, we got to like it. We got to like this, the company we're aligned with it.
Sponsored by heroin.
Got some?
Anybody want to buy some?
Anyone want some? Well, today we, if you follow either of us, I don't know if you tweeted about it. I definitely
tweeted about it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
About the
Well,
Jinx?
Well, there you go. Okay, so we have two things we kind of want to cover tonight, and we both tweeted about one of them. Jenna tweeted about the Jinx, and I tweeted about something that happened to us over the weekend. So I guess we should just start with the Jinx because it's really fresh in our brains. The last episode of the documentary series aired last night. We watched it, and it made, the case made news the same day.
Right.
So why don't we start talking about it in a way where because I feel like you're really, really kind of into it. I'm into it.
I'm so consumed by it.
Yeah, and I really, appreciate that passion you have for it. So why don't we let Jenna begin by giving a little bit of a background of what the Jinx is.
Yeah, I will. But
And
before
why
I
it's
do
relevant.
that, time out. If you haven't watched The Jinx, I'll give you a brief synopsis. Although you should have read about it in the news because it's been everywhere.
Yes.
And they give you a breakdown of all of it.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to address the fact that when I tweeted what I tweeted, someone was like, yo, you should have thrown a spoiler alert on there. I was like, what, that he got arrested? You can't.
That's in the news.
You can't
Okay.
tell the news, like, what?
No, I'm listening. I just have something to say about that.
That would
so.
be like, yo, can you please tell the news to stop spoiling things for me? Sorry that he got arrested. I'm not spoiling shit for anyone.
Before Jenna even said that right now, I was going to say, spoiler alert for the Drinks. If you want to watch it, don't watch this podcast. But
it's
after
not.
she just said that, I want to say this. For people who literally go on the internet and expect not to be spoiled by things and then lash out at, like, I've gotten so many tweets about, man, why'd you spoil this? Why'd you spoil that? Get the fuck off the internet. Get off of Twitter, mind your business, and realize that if you're on the internet, you are going to be spoiled by things.
Well, yeah, that's like being like, oh, I haven't watched the finale of this show. And then you go on Twitter, you know what's going to happen. You know you're going to read about
How can you get mad at someone? That's insane.
Why, whenever we're waiting to watch the last episode of something, we, like, avoid it on Twitter.
Like, when we would watch The Ultimate Fighter, I would, like, avoid Instagram, Twitter, and I'd be like, every once in a while, I would accidentally hit something and it would spoil me.
Or you follow somebody and they tweet about it, but it's not the fault of everyone else for tweeting about it. It's your fault for going onto the information super highway and then seeing it.
Oh man, get off the internet if you don't want to be spoiled. That's like a rant in and of itself.
But there is no spoiler or spoiler alert for the Jinx because these two things happened separately. It's not like I told you how the Jinx ended, although I'm sure, guess what? Newsflash, it's not like it's a fiction series. If you want to know what is being told in the documentary, you could go read about it online now.
And also, it's not like it happened yesterday. This thing has been happening for years, and it happened years ago, so don't even try the spoilers.
So anyways, the Jinx is basically about this man, Robert Durst. His mother committed suicide when he was a child. That was kind of weird. He grew up very privileged. His family are real estate billionaires in New York, the Dursts.
Yeah.
And Robert was the oldest, although the family business is now run by his younger brother, Douglas Durst, I think his name is. They're estranged. And so everything sort of snowballed when Robert, his first wife, went missing and disappeared. And he was a suspect in that case. And some people thought that his best friend, Susan Berman, had helped him cover it up. But he basically was never charged with it. And then he decided to lay low for a while and moved to Galveston, Texas, I think.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, he was renting a $300 a month apartment
under a different name, different identity,
dressed as a mute woman. And they found some body parts of his neighbor that were hacked to bits, like floating in the bay. And Robert Durst had gotten rid of the head. They took him to trial for murder, but they couldn't convict him of murder because the head was missing. He shot his neighbor, Morris Black, in the head and then chopped up the body parts, which he admitted and was like, yeah, I just sort of didn't, was being suspected about this thing with my wife. And then, so I got out of town and then we got in an altercation. It was self-defense. And then, so I cut up his body. No big deal. But because Robert Durst had gone, he threw all these body parts that he cut up in garbage bags, put them in the bay, thinking that they would sink. They didn't. They floated to the surface. He went back the next morning, saw it, grabbed the head where you could prove or disprove whether or not this was self-defense or an execution.
Yep.
He got rid of the head so they could never prove that it was actually murder. It was only self-defense. So he got away with that murder. That nobody was able to prove anything with his first wife, although that was all fishy. And then this woman, Jeanine Pirro, I think her name, but Jean Pirro.
No, I think that was Jeanine Pirro, yeah.
She was the DA in New York, I think, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not 100% sure. But she's been, on Robert Durst for ages, for, decades, trying to put him in jail.
Yeah.
So she wanted to question Susan Berman, who was Robert Durst's, best friend. And then, mysteriously, she's found dead.
Well, Susan Berman announced that she was going to talk to whoever, and it was after that she winds up dead.
And the cops were able to place Robert Durst in the state of California, but they couldn't put him in Los Angeles.
Benedict Canyon, Beverly Hills.
And then, after before the body was found, someone had dropped off an anonymous letter, a handwritten letter that had her address. It was 1527 Benedict Canyon, cadaver.
That was the note. It's just
addressed to Beverly Hills Police, and they spelled Beverly wrong, and it was all in capital letters.
Yep.
And then they were never able to pin that on Robert Durst either. So he was doing this extensive interview and documentary with Andrew Jarecki and whatever the other guy's name is. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that's what the Jinx is. The Jinx is sort of just unraveling all of these events and showing how ridiculous it is. And Robert Durst wanted to sit down with Andrew Jarecki and do this interview. He wanted to.
Yeah.
And so then, this is the only thing I'll say about spoiler alert, because if you haven't seen the last episode, you might want to just, fast forward a couple minutes. But so in the last episode of the Jinx, I had read today that this interview took place in 2012 when they were shooting this documentary. And then Andrew Jarecki, the director and whatever, they hired an extra team of editors to go through some of the footage because they had so much footage. And someone found this audio confession because Robert Durst
was mic'd up.
After they confronted him, because Susan Berman's stepchild had this letter that was addressed in the exact same way that the cadaver letter was, and they confronted Robert Durst with it. That was the last interview that they had.
It was like a second interview, which they brought back this extra piece of evidence, what really made Robert look really guilty. It was like a bad piece of evidence for him. But after a lot of
they put him on the spot. They didn't tell him beforehand. They just presented it to him.
It was teeth pulling. He ran from the interview for a while, and then he finally was like, you know what? I'll fucking do it. I'll do the interview. Right. So they do the interview. It's cold. It's like a very different vibe than the first interview. Because in the first interview, one could say that Andrew Jarecki and Bob Durst kind of had a rapport. Exactly. And even Jarecki was talking about how he
said he wasn't sure if he was guilty, but he wasn't sure if he was innocent, but he wasn't sure that he was guilty. Yeah. And he liked Robert Durst.
He liked him. He liked him.
Yeah. Which is understandable,
to a certain extent. Yeah, absolutely. You watch him and it's charismatic.
Right.
He's not some cold-blooded asshole.
Right, but he is bizarre and he does have these tics.
Yeah.
And apparently is Asperger's, but he does have a really charming quality about him, and he's incredibly fucking smart.
Yeah.
Which makes it understandable, although he's a frail old man, that he's capable of all these things, why he's been able, aside from the fact that he's a millionaire many times over, that he might be able to get away with these things, unfortunately. Because he has the money to buy the best defense attorneys.
Yeah.
And when they were showing the bits of that trial in Galveston, the only murder trial he was actually on, the jury was laughing, they liked him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
He was on trial for having possibly killed his wife and chopping up a body, and he has the jury laughing because he's so charming.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
But we were talking, and so, it came back into the news because...
No, hold on. We didn't finish it.
Okay, sorry.
So after these extra editors went through all this footage, in 2012, in around 2014, an editor basically was like, hey guys, I just found something that you might want to hear. And it was Robert Durst had gone to the bathroom after that second interview where they confronted him with the handwriting evidence. Yeah. And
his mic was still hot.
His mic was still on. And he was just sort of mumbling to himself, the weirdest shit. And then he's like, of course, I killed them all. He says,
what the hell did I do? Well, I killed them all, of course.
Yeah. You were right, I was wrong, blah, 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 all this shit. Yeah. And then, so that was the finale of the Jinx. Just playing that audio.
It was so, the way they did it was incredible.
And it was chilling. Yeah, and then earlier that day, Robert Durst was
that day,
arrested.
as in yesterday, 2015.
Was arrested for the murder of Susan Berman. Not his wife.
Yeah, just the Susan Berman.
Yeah, just Susan Berman. But I think for most people that know the case, before I ever fucking knew about it, that his brother, he tried to kill his brother.
Yeah, his brother had to get protection.
Yeah, his whole family has restraining orders out against him. People really just want him to go away and to stop being a threat to society, one way or another. Even though there's no justice for Kathy, his first wife, and stuff like that, they really just want him to go away. Yep. But I highly recommend it. We always have, and it's fucking bomb. But anyways, that happened yesterday, and it was a mind fuck.
Yeah.
The whole thing was the biggest mind fuck ever.
Yeah.
And the police and Andrew Jarecki would not admit or deny that his arrest happening that same day as the finale aired, were a coincidence or not.
Which it obviously was.
Yeah. But
it wasn't a coincidence. They were related events.
So, they arrested Robert Durst. And mind you, I don't think, it's not like the cops sat down and watched the Jinx. They've been working on this evidence for a year.
Yeah, and the evidence has been public.
To arrest him for murdering Susan Berman.
Yeah.
And they arrested him in the lobby of a New Orleans hotel, and he was carrying a gun. And it was suspected that he was going to fly, that he got arrested on Sunday. I think so.
Yeah, that's when the news came out, or Saturday night.
He was trying to fly to Cuba, basically.
Yeah.
He wanted to fucking leave the country.
Yep. Yeah. So, if you'd been following the Jinx like we have for the past month or so.
Consumed by it.
Consumed. I mean, every Sunday we just lose our minds because it's just such a crazy story, and it's so incredibly done by Jarecki. We were talking yesterday about... Well, specifically, we were talking about that last interview, and during the last interview, he's nothing really like he was in the first interview. In the first interview, he was very, he was kind of tired of it, but at the same time, he was a little bit entertained by the interview. He said, oh, nobody tells the whole truth. Like, he just had that attitude, and it was very interesting to watch because of how certain evidence that was very public was just seriously stacked against him. And when this new piece came out about the letter that he wrote, the same spelling and the same handwriting and very, very bad evidence for him, would you agree that the whole second interview had just a completely different vibe?
Well, yeah, it had a different vibe because he didn't really want to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, they had been chasing him for months to try and confront him with this evidence, but he had been tipped off that they had something damning against him. Yeah. And he really just didn't want to do it, but he got arrested for something. He got arrested for
walking up onto the stoop.
For violating his restraining order and going up his brother's townhouse and, like, just creeping around the outside door.
Yeah, he got caught on security cam walking up the stoop and then just looking and then walking back.
Yeah, but still, like, for someone that he had allegedly tried to kill in the past, that's a huge deal. So the director sort of used that as, like, ammo to be like, hey, man, because Robert Durst needed them to show the footage of when they were outside his brother's townhouse years beforehand shooting the documentary, and, like, that's how he knew where it was. I don't know, but for whatever reason, he needed them to hand over the videotapes. So Andrew Jarecki was like, okay, we need you to sit down and do this interview then.
Yeah.
So that's why it was different.
Yeah.
Because he then needed something from the director and the documentary crew.
Yeah,
whatever.
You're right.
It was totally
different circumstances.
But, he still was sort of doing the same thing in which, like, he doesn't exactly answer questions, and he does this, like, little dance around shit, so he doesn't really have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Which is something incredibly smart. It is so hard to do that on the spot and not get flustered. And what I was telling you, what was one of the most disturbing parts about all of this to me, is that someone can talk about these things in such a way so candidly, like, without being emotionally disturbed. Do you know what I mean? Like, he can just sort of brush... He sat in court and talked about just chopping up this guy's body very matter-of-factly. Yeah. Like, I just did what I had to do. Yeah,
it's a scary thing when you see real footage of it.
Yeah, he smoked some marijuana, and I got drunk, and then, I sawed his body into pieces. And you're just like, this completely unassuming, privileged... Small man was capable of doing this and then just sitting here and talking about it casually. It was just so disturbing. The whole thing is very disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
But that was the craziest thing. That if you have time or you have an HBO Go account that you can log in of someone else's, it might be some of the craziest television or anything that I've ever watched. Yeah. Those last 45 seconds or so.
Yeah, it's intense. Very, very intense. And the whole series is beyond well done. It does the story justice in a way. Like, it's very dramatic. We were talking a little bit about how in the second interview he always has these, like, tics. He's, like, shutting his eyes a lot. He does this thing. And he has, like, tics like that. But in the second interview, when shit got really real, he started burping, like, really violently. Like, it was very weird. And we didn't speak a word to each other during this. We're so, like, couldn't stop looking, we don't talk. But after the episode last night, we were walking the dogs and we were talking. I was like, I asked you something about, like, these tics, these burps, and you said, something along the lines, I'll let you explain, but you basically said something along the lines of, like, his body is losing its own mind because so much shit is fucked up. Like, he's able to be, put on this poker face for so long, but then his body's just, like, revolting against it because it's so much. Think about it this
way. It's a physiological response to stress, which can come in any form. But like, have you ever heard someone say, "Oh, whenever I get really nervous, I have to poop, or I get, like, bubble guts, or, like, I'm just, like, sweating," or something like that? It's just a physiological response to stress. So he was so stressed out, and like obviously he can't just hold it together and lie because he didn't have something rehearsed in his head. And they had showed clips beforehand when his mic was hot and he didn't know it was on, and he would like murmur things under his breath, practicing
like
sentences,
practicing lines,
telling them to himself, I never
like the word, like it was like the word
intentionally lied. Like he would say it to himself over and over and over again until it became true in his mind, so that he could say it with confidence without his body freaking out. Because it doesn't matter how great of a liar you are, if your body starts responding to the stress that you're under, it's a dead giveaway. It's gonna come out, that you're lying and that you're freaking the fuck out. So in the bathroom when he's doing this, like talking to himself, and his mic is hot and he's confessing basically to these murders, he's saying, and the burping, like he's so angry at himself. He's so angry at his body for deceiving him. But it's insane, like to watch that, and all of a sudden he just starts burping and he starts like freaking out. And his tics are going crazy, and he's just fucking losing his mind. And you didn't see him like that in any other part of the documentary because it's so well rehearsed in his mind that he can lie without question, you know?
Yeah, and he almost like, he has this way of like making you feel kind of dumb for thinking he'd be guilty. Like it's, in the previous interview, it was something like, you were in California when Susan Berman was murdered. It was a very weird coincidence that you were there. They couldn't put you in Southern California. What do you have to say about that? And he says, well, to me, it sounds like the cops have something that they can run with. And it just like almost makes you feel like, wow, I guess he really isn't guilty. He's like making fun of people who think that he would possibly have done something.
He normalizes everyone's suspicions.
That's a good way to put it. And he normalizes it. Yeah.
Well, California's a big state, and like, yeah, I was visiting this and doing that, but I could understand, like, here's this guy whose wife is mysteriously dead and missing, and then
I mean, I get it.
Neighbor, like, I get
like,
it.
Fuck, dude.
But then he'll, like, throw you some weird little sharp fastball where it's like, well, why do you think I moved to Galveston, Texas, like, where no one lives, to rent this, like, apartment and dress as a mute woman? Because I was hiding. Yeah. And you're like, all right, yeah, that part makes fucking sense.
Kind of makes sense,
like,
dude. People
sense.
Think you murdered your wife. Whether or not you did, it's kind of a like understandable thing. You want to go off the map.
But this is also why lawyers get paid the big bucks, and he was paying lawyers the big bucks.
They created the most brilliant cases.
Well, they create these lies for him to live by and defend, because he can defend himself.
They create lies. They create all sorts of angles that you wouldn't have thought of, and then they also create gaps where they're like, you know what? Maybe you didn't remember this. Don't remember that.
Yeah, just say you don't remember.
It helps if you don't know this section of the story best.
Right.
And it did help.
Yeah.
It got him off murdering people over and over.
Mindfuck.
Such a mindfuck. Wow. Like it's when you say the word chilling, it rarely means fucking actually chilling. Like I watch that and I'd like can't.
I mean, I think the only other thing that I've watched and been somehow more disturbed by is, and I don't even want to fucking say it, but it's on YouTube. It's about a cannibal, and that's all.
All right, yeah, we don't need to go any deeper.
It's so not worth watching. It's so deeply disturbing that like I left watching that. I don't know why I watched. I was down those like weird YouTube holes when you've got time and you're sort of just like waiting to get like drawn in by something, and I got drawn in by it, and I had to fast forward a bunch of parts because I just couldn't. I was getting
that sounds
sick to my stomach.
I would probably draw the line there too.
And it's not worth watching. Please do not watch it ever.
Yeah. No need.
Because you don't leave with any, like, this is sort of like a mind fuck, but then it leaves you with all these thoughts and feelings and whatever. But that left me with nothing of value.
I would probably throw up.
It just disturbed me.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was one of those things where you're just like, you're left reeling. Do you know what I mean?
Reeling.
But anyways, let's talk about something lighter, shall we?
Why don't
except
we finish?
Not lighter, except angrier.
Yeah, angrier, but way lighter. So I hope that gave you some sort of, fulfillment for those that care. Exactly. So this weekend, we amazingly went out to a bar.
What?
Yeah, I know. We've been like being homebodies pretty much for the last couple months.
It's fun.
It's fun, but we wanted to get out. So we got home and we were drinking and stuff. And we were just like, let's go out. Let's go to a bar. So we go to a bar. I'm going to say the fucking name of this first place, not the second place.
Okay.
We go to a place called Laurel Tavern. And I had been there once.
Studio City.
Studio City. I had been there once, had a drink with a buddy, whatever. It was really packed. Service was slow, but whatever. It wasn't bad. So we go to Laura Tavern, and we all look at the menu for drinks. It's about 1 o'clock when we get there, like 1, maybe 1:15. No, it's like one between 1 and 1:10, I think. Anyway.
And these places allegedly close at 2.
Every single place that we ever go to,
for the most
technically
part in
their
Los
hours
Angeles.
end at 2 on Saturday nights.
Right.
So,
well, every bar in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So we look at the menu. We pick out our cocktails. I order the cocktails. And the moment I order the cocktails, this woman, dark-haired woman, bartender behind the bar, laughs at me. And she, laughs. And
Mind you, we've both been bartenders in the past.
Yeah, I bartended for almost 2 years. And she bartended for years. And so, I order my drinks. This woman laughs. So I'm like, oh, maybe she thought I said something else. So she brings back the beer and one drink. And then she says, oh, I can't make that second drink. I mean, I put everything away. Like, what else could you eat, could you drink right now? I'm not going to make that. She just basically said no to one of the drink orders.
Yeah, she didn't offer you a suggestion or tell you what she can make. No, she just said, what's another drink?
Yeah, she said, what else do you want? I said, okay, well, can I have a Basil Hayden? You have Basil Hayden. She was like, yeah, we got that. I was like, oh, take it neat. Give it to me, please. And so she gives me the last drink. And as I'm waiting to go to our seats behind us, she took my card and is ringing me up. And if you have ever been to a bar, if you were an adult who goes to bars, you know that before a bartender takes your bar and rings you up, they are supposed to and generally do ask you if you want to leave your tab open or if you want to close out. Closing out meaning you're going to leave after this drink. Leaving the tab open meaning that you may stay another drink. Mm-hmm. She takes my card and starts doing her thing. And I'm like, wait. I'm trying to get her attention. Excuse me, open. Leave it open and we want to stay. And of course, she's not looking. So she finishes her business, hands me the check. And I said, wait, can we maybe leave the tab open? And she says, honey, I'm not going to leave it open.
Honey.
It's 1:15. And then walks away. So just to recap, this place supposedly closes at 2. It's pretty packed. 1:15, I guess according to this woman,
is essentially last
call without anyone saying last call.
Without the lights being on.
She laughed at my drink order, didn't give me the choice to close out or keep it open, and then
didn't have something on the menu. Wouldn't make you something on the menu.
And then absolutely
don't give me a drink menu then, bitch.
And then absolutely rudely didn't give me the choice to keep my tab open and then said it to me in a very demeaning way, honey. So I got, I don't normally ever tip below 20% in a bar, no matter what, because I was a bartender and I know those tips mean everything. So I tipped her on a $33 tab. I tipped her $3, which is 10%.
$1 a drink.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? That's the lowest I'll ever tip someone because I'm not going to tip anyone nothing or whatever, but I wish I would just not tip you anything. So we have our drinks and we're just kind of reeling, we're just like, fuck, why did that all just happen? We came out at 1 expecting to have at least 2 drinks. I mean,
just a couple of drinks. We literally just went out to have a couple of drinks.
And when I worked at a bar, and when Jenna worked at a bar, there's last call. For me, I worked in California, so 2 a.m. you can't sell liquor after that. For her, it's different because it was in Boston.
Not really. No, you can't sell alcohol after 2.
Oh, New York is what I'm thinking of.
New York, you can.
Okay, so
New York, you can sell alcohol until 4.
Yeah,
but
so at least I'm used to 1:45, excuse me. Okay, last call. All right,
you say last call, maybe you start turning lights on, but people are allowed to order a drink until 1:59. You have to hand them whatever they order until 2 a.m., and then you're not allowed to serve them.
Now, that's the law. Generally, you follow the law.
Because the bar wants to make money.
Also that. Where are the hardworking, hungry bartenders who want to make money?
They don't. They want to close.
They want to go home.
Yeah. But what pisses me off in the bar that Julien used to work at, as the business started to fail. This was not Julien's fault or anything. The people that owned it were not good people. But it would say it's open until 2. You would drive by or walk down the street at 11:45, and all the lights would be off and the doors would be closed when that place was on its way out. You know what I mean?
It was after I stopped working there.
Yeah. No, everybody had stopped, but it was still allegedly open.
Yeah.
But how in the fuck, me as a patron, can I come back to your bar when I don't know if it's open or closed?
Yeah.
And what really pissed me off about this place, Laurel Tavern, is why would I ever come back to your bar when if I go on Yelp or if I go on the internet, it says 2 a.m.
Right now.
It says 2 a.m. every single place. I don't understand why I can't come in until 2 a.m. and get a drink. I don't understand.
Well, it
seems like the worst business ever.
First of all, you say you don't know why you would ever go back there. I don't either, which is why we're not going back there.
Right.
And second of all, we have our answer. It's because that woman was lazy from working her long 5-hour bartending shift.
Yeah, plus it's not like this place is fucking packed. There's like 30 people in there.
Yeah, it's like capacity at like maybe 60 people. And like leaving your customer with that sort of feeling is the last thing you ever want to do in the service industry.
That wasn't the end of the night. So
that wasn't the end of the night.
We pounded our drinks because we were like, let's get the fuck out of here.
So,
because there's other bars within walking distance, and I bet we can get another drink and sit somewhere without feeling like, you can't even... Because Julian, in hindsight, was like, I should have on the tip like written like, sorry to bother you.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I did to piss her off.
Sorry to bother you, lady.
Yeah. Sorry to give you my money.
Sorry for asking for a drink that's on the menu.
Yeah, so we shoot our drinks. We're like, whatever. We walk down the street to a place called the Firefly, which we had gone before. We like a lot. We like them. We've gone there for a couple birthdays, and they stay open late. They give us good drinks, nice bartenders. So it's 1:30 at this point. We walk up to the door, and this doorman, fucking doorman, wearing a hoodie or some beanie, like whatever, just turned us away. He said, sorry, last call. He said, sorry, it was just last call. And I said, well, it's 1:30. It's last call.
Great, so we can still get one more drink. So we can get a drink.
It's last call. And he says...
Last call doesn't last for a minute. It lasts until you close. That's what last call is.
And he says, last call. Sorry, you guys can't. And I said, well, can we just get one drink? We come to this bar quite a bit. You guys, are one of our favorites out here. Can we get one drink since it's 1:30?
It's last call.
30 minutes till you can stop selling liquor.
He goes, no, man, it's 1:36.
And I said, really, man? And he says, it's just one of those nights. So before I proceed to talk about this bar, I want to note that I tweeted about both these bars, and Laurel Tavern just didn't fucking respond. They fucking whatever. Firefly initially saw that I tweeted about them. They didn't see the context, so they said, hey, thanks for the mention, Julian. And I wrote back, I said, well, it wasn't that positive. I was kind of talking about how you guys turned us away for no reason. And then they DM'd me, and they actually made an attempt to resolve it, which I appreciate.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I hadn't told you that. You were in the doctor's office. But they had DM'd me like 5 times back. Well, they asked me, tell me the whole story. So I DM'd the whole story about how the doorman was rude and decided that it was one of those nights and didn't want to serve us, even though he's a doorman. A doorman. He can't serve anyone. I don't know why he's making that call. So hopefully I got him in trouble because that motherfucker's losing them business. But anyway, they made the attempt to resolve it, which is why I would be going back to Firefly in the future. But, obviously those two things happening back to back didn't help because we were already pretty pissed. But it's just a really frustrating theme in Los Angeles that bartenders or bar staff are just so eager to leave the night, leave the last bit of money that you can make, leave the customers who want to come to your bar late at night because you are lazy and you want to be done with work early.
Right. Well, I'm not 100% sure what the fucking law is in California because it seems like most places start turning on the lights at 1:30 so that the bar can be empty by 1:45, 2 a.m. Because in Boston, it wasn't uncommon when I was working that we wouldn't start counting our money until 2:45. You know what I mean?
Same with me.
By the time you clean up and everybody's kind of out of there, because when the lights go on, it's 2, 2:05, 2:10, 2:15.
Then you really everyone get out. You gotta go.
They need to get people out the door. But we have to just clean up. You're not getting home until 3:30 in the morning. That's just what you take on.
That's exactly right.
By being a bartender.
That's exactly right.
But that's the way I was trained. If someone orders a drink at 1:59, you have to serve them.
Why would you not? That's a tip that you're going to make.
You don't have a choice. And, I would be curious to know, who actually owns the Laurel Tavern, who actually owns Firefly, and if they want these people to be closing at that time.
No, probably not. Probably.
When I used to work at the tanning salon, I had to if we closed at 9 or 10, I had to let someone in those doors at 8:59 or 9:59. And if they wanted to tan for a goddamn half hour, I had to stand there and let them.
That's part of what sucks about working in the industry of serving people.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta stay a little later, dude.
Right. When someone comes in during any time of your shift, you need to help them.
It's like, okay, I have a 9-to-5 office job at 4:00. I'm gonna email everyone in the company, say, hey, closing out early. Don't email me until tomorrow.
Please don't give me any work after 4:30, if that's great with you.
Or after 4. Or after 4:15.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm like totally pretty much unavailable after 4:15 because I'm getting in shutdown mode. I gotta start packing up my thermos and my lunch, and I need to go to the break room and rinse out my cup, okay?
It makes me really sad though, because I remember like in the heyday of me bartending, which is like a couple weeks span when things were really good, because it was like now I'm a bartender, and then I'm a bartender, and then now the bar sucks. So there was like a period where things were really good. We were making money. Everyone was happy. And in that period, I remember we would have nights where we were, cleaning the place up till 3:00 and counting our fat tips. You know what I mean? We made good money because we decided we were going to be known as that place that lets you in till 2.
Right. And there were plenty of nights that I would sit there because I really don't care what kind of place it is, like a bar. Like, I kind of just want to sit there and chill at a table with my friends and then hang out until you guys are closed.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I care about. Yeah. I don't really care about anything else. But there were plenty of times at that bar when I would go and they'd be like, so there's not really anybody here. So we're just going to close. And I'm like, well, how do you think anyone's going to come in here if you just keep closing at 12:30?
Yeah.
Because there's no one here.
Yeah.
Like, if there's people in the bar, keep them in the bar.
Even if it's just a handful.
Food,
even if it's just a few.
Even if it's just a handful, because then a fucking party bus might pull up, man.
Which
like, you don't,
happens.
Right, you don't get to just fucking close because you're kind of bored. And you think that you're not making as much money as you want.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I guess the real frustration is that it's a theme in this city.
Well, in Los Angeles, yeah. Because I was thinking, even in WeHo, although there are plenty of places, WeHo being West Hollywood, where there's a long strip and like lots of bars and places to go for nightlife, there's plenty of places that will stay open until 2. And you can hang out there after and get a water and get a vitamin water or whatever the fuck you can dance. You can keep dancing. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's after hours places that don't serve any alcohol. Yeah. But you can certainly stay and hang out. Yep. But then there's a couple places when at 1:30 or 1:15 they start shuffling out the door. Like pushing you out. Like yelling at you to get out. And it's kind of confusing as to like, I don't really go out enough, nor have I gone out enough places to know exactly which bars actually stay open until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But it's annoying the way, like, that night that we went out, we were sort of hanging out at the house. It's getting, I think we decided maybe 11:45 midnight that we were going to get our shit together and maybe go out.
Yeah.
And, like, we went upstairs, we changed our clothes, we got a car, and we got a ride over there. And by the time we did that, it was just about 1 a.m. And, we had a drink here before we left. Like, there's plenty of nights when that seems like a totally reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, go have a nightcap or 2. Yeah.
I know. In the bar that I used to work at, since it was such a young crowd, there were so many people that would come between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. because they were coming from a fucking house party that got broken up. They were coming from another bar because you can walk. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so mind-boggling to me that you would want to close during one of the busiest hours if you would just stay open.
Yes.
It's
very, very weird. I mean, it does nothing besides turn me off to going out here. But it is what it is. Like,
I don't think that they should be allowed to claim that they're open until 2.
Well, it is technically false advertising.
If you can't even be in the building after 1:30.
I just don't know what's up 25. Everyone's ass in a bar in LA. Like, the way that woman was to me. Like, how bad could her shift have been for her to rightfully treat anyone like that?
Well, I think she just thought that you were a little baby. Like a baby kid ordering some cocktails.
Oh, well, this baby kid had money for you, but you didn't want it, motherfucker. She literally called you honey. She called me honey. Which, in the right context, it's sweet, but she was being very, very condescending.
She's fucking
didn't appreciate
you.
It. Didn't appreciate it.
Well, I just like the way that you said it made it seem like you should have known better.
It's 1:15.
Honey, I'm not going to keep your tab open. It's 1:15.
What are those two things
like
have anything to do with each other?
You should have known that, Julian. That's the way she was talking to you.
I should have known that you're a lazy piece of... Nope. I'm not going to keep going. No point.
Although I'm pretty sure that guy walking around was the owner, and he was like in his pajamas.
Yeah. Getting drunk behind the bar.
Being so weird.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, if anyone watches this and works at Laurel Tavern, why don't you have someone talk to that girl and maybe change your policy about being assholes to customers. Because
Sorry to
we just kind of
you.
put your bar on blast because you basically told us to.
Sorry to bother you.
You never know who you're going to piss off, honestly. You know what I mean? It's just stupid. Not saying I'm anyone important, but I'm just saying, hey, we're on a podcast talking about it now. We wouldn't have been here if you weren't mean to us.
Sorry to bother you,
Sorry
lady.
to bother you. Sorry to come into your bar, try to pay you. So this isn't the happiest way that we wanted to end, but it's definitely not murdering and cutting people up. So there's that.
At least we went from like a crazy murderer to like a little bit angry, but it got happier.
It got happier. And you live and you learn. We're not going to go out at 1 again and try. We're going, we accept it. It just sucks. You know what I mean?
Right.
It sucks. But it is what it is. Well, this is why we have a podcast, I guess, so we can air our thoughts and stuff.
Well, I mean,
if you guys...
The other thing to consider also, not to go back, but, like, about Los Angeles, is that most of these bars, like, Los Angeles is an enormous place. It's not like they have these residual people, like, walking over from another bar. You can't really, like, walk around too much.
Yeah, that's
Although
true.
that little strip of bars, you totally can.
Studio City?
Yeah.
It's like Main Street.
Yeah.
Everyone's open till fucking 2 on Main Street. Whatever is
If
you guys have any stories, I got a lot of different mixed tweets about this when I tweeted about it, which is fine. But if you guys want to participate and kind of chime in about your experience in bars, and maybe if you worked in the bar business, or if you have had similar experiences, or maybe you have something that you think we should know in terms of us being wrong about something, let us know in the comments, and also let us know what
because our experience as bartenders is not everyone's.
No,
but
it's not.
I would genuinely just like to understand why you're allowed to say you're open until 2 if there's never a person in your building after 1:30.
I mean, if it's a reason different than the just lazy culture of bartenders, then we'd like to know, because it seems really weird.
It just seems like false advertising.
Yeah, well, it is. Also, if you guys have anything to say about the Jinx, let us know, because we want to talk about that shit.
Yeah, I'm consumed.
We want to talk about shit. And also, anyone but Vagisil, hit us up about sponsors. Good
Stay
podcast.
free maxi pads.
Yeah, that was a really funny bit. Good podcast.
Yeah, good podcast.
Thank you guys for watching and listening to the Jenna Julien podcast this week. We'll be back again next week, hopefully with more positivity, even though I enjoyed this. I think you needed this.
Yeah, I did. I did enjoy it.
It was good. And that's a good blue dress, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Good blue. It's good.
Woo!
Yeah, I saw that.
No, you didn't.
So inappropriate.
No,
We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.